Ah, the Babyface's Blaster. It used to be amazing, taking high risk and high reward to the next level. Back in the day, if you had a Babyface's Blaster Scout on your team, you knew that going for objectives was going to be a piece of cake. In the time it would take you to get to the enemy's intel room at the start of a round, the scout would have already capped 3 times and the round would be over. You go to capture control point B on stand-in, and by the time you do, you see that the scout has already capped both C and A, despite the points being across the map from each other. On steal, before you can even get out of the gate on point A, the scout had already tried capping point E, got shot by a soldier and a pyro, ran back to spawn for a resupply, and is currently bringing up the side of point B for an ambush. Truly, it was a magnificent weapon. So what the hell happened to it? The Babyface's Blaster was, and still is, my favorite scattergun, despite being virtually useless nowadays. The poor thing has gone through so many nerfs, it is just not worth using in most situations, and the community knows this. See this strange specialized killstreak villainous violet Babyface's Blaster with the rare, discontinued Halloween spell Exorcism on it? Yeah, what do you want to bet that sold for? What do you want to bet I purchased that for? 64 cents. Jeebus Christ, that is unforgivable! You know what a flamethrower with Exorcism goes for alone? I'm not talking strange specialized killstreak whatever, I'm talking just a regular flamethrower with Exorcism on it. 2.5 keys at least! Even with a discontinued spell, people consider this weapon worthless. So why is this poor gun getting tossed out like the trash it is by seemingly everybody? And how could we bring the blaster back to a bit of its former glory? Well, let's start with why people have given up on it. Most users have given up on it because, well, Valve and the TF2 team have given up on it. But to explain that, we need to start at the beginning. At the very beginning. The Babyface's Blaster was not originally the overpowered scattergun people remember. At first it was seen as the scattergun's retarded side grade, with a 35% movement speed reduction right out of spawn instead of today's 10%, 6 shots, which at one point this was the only scattergun to have 6 shots aside from stock, 40% more accurate, as in the random bullet spread was not nearly as bad, which actually made the Babyface decent at mid-range combat. Not quite as good as the shortstop, but it was pretty close. Now, I remember it also having a damage penalty, but I could not find any information on what the damage penalty actually was. Just that they removed it at one point. Though, if I remember correctly to my original Babyface, I think it was 15%, something like that. And the weirdest stat of all of your boost was lost on a single jump. And I don't mean a double jump, I mean a single jump. If you jump even once, all of your boost is immediately gone and you're back to being slower than a pyro. It was insanely hard to master, but once someone did, they were dangerous for all of the wrong reasons. Now, later it was changed to only have 4 shots, no damage penalty or accuracy buff, and it would lose about 25% of your boost on double jump, allowing you to finally jump again, and right out of spawn you were only 10% slower and not the painful 35% slower. Alright, so this is seeming more like an honest side grade at this point to the stock. Missing a couple of shots, but you can gain an incredible boost that is only slightly lost on a double jump, allowing you to double jump when you have to without having to worry too much about your boost, as you will still be faster after one double jump than all other scouts. But now we get into some of the issues with the Babyface's Blaster and why the Team Fortress 2 team felt it needed to be nerfed so hard, and nerfed in an incredible feat of laziness. See, the Babyface's Blaster made you move so fast that your hitbox would actually lag behind your body. Yes, no joke, you could run faster than your hitbox could keep up. So, rather than fix this issue with the hitbox, they just decided to go all nerf heavy on the thing. Now, when you double jump, you lose around 70% of your boost, but worse yet, if you take damage, you lose boost as well. How much damage does it take to lose all of your boost? 2 pistol shots. 2 pistol shots! You know, as in the pistol that fires off 12 shots in a matter of seconds? Yeah, that pistol. And if all you need to remove this Babyface's Blaster's full boost is 2 pistol shots, do you have any idea how devastating afterburn and bleed damage is to this scout? And this is where we get into the main problem of the Babyface's Blaster today. You need to deal 100 damage to fill the boost meter, but you only need to take 25 damage to lose all of it. So basically, for this gun to work, you need to be dealing 4 times as much damage as people are dealing to you constantly just to break even on the boost. How would I fix this? Simple. Have the scout need to take 75 damage to lose all of his boost, but say he needs to deal 150 damage to gain it in the first place. I mean, that's fair. And at that point, you are left with 50 HP and 10% less movement speed if all of your boost is removed. That's still a death sentence if you get into that situation, but at least it's not 2 pistol shots, or 1 flare gun or pyro puff, or really any rebalancing of this. Just like the whole ratio of how much damage you need to deal to how much damage you need to take to lose and build your boost. It's too easy to build. You can one-shot and get all of your boost, or you can be one-shot yourself and lose all of your boost. I mean, it's not practical. In a real battle, you're constantly switching between like an incredibly fast movement speed that no one can keep up with, and you're going slower than a stock scout. It's just going back and forth between those two. You're getting such unreliable speed that why would you ever do this when you can just use the stock scattergun, which at this point, in every feasible way, is a direct upgrade to not only the babyface, but practically any of his other guns. Except maybe the shortstop. That's something totally different. And I know I'm not the only one who thinks like this. Despite the huge outcry from the TF2 community in general, the TF2 team is just determined to ruin every single scout weapon aside from stock. Seriously, how many of his weapons have actually gotten a buff recently? How many scatterguns in comparison to the stock have been nerfed? All of them. Has the stock scattergun ever been nerfed once? Of course not. They're too afraid to nerf stock. They do it all the time, not just with scout. Guys, stock should be the most balanced in all situations, not just objectively the most powerful and best choice for any situation. Honestly, is there any way we can drill this simple concept into the TF2 team's heads? They've been doing a great job with heavy of all things recently. The Brass Beast still has some major issues, but for the most part, they pretty well balanced all of his primary guns, and I actually see some comp players using miniguns aside from stock for once. The Tomislav and even the Natasha have a home in serious play now. The Hulong Heater I still never see used, but it's kinda like the Scottish Resistance at this point. A great weapon, but no one knows how to use it correctly. So, until the TF2 team gets their heads out of Scout's ass, what can we do to make the babyface even remotely usable? Dare I say, could we make the babyface viable? Well, it's actually kinda simple. You gotta devote his other weapon slots to countering the babyface's downsides. And that's no easy task. The babyface seriously sucks. This is coming from someone who loves it to death more than any other scattergun. Though, if you have been watching this gameplay so far, you probably have an idea where I'm going with this already. So first, let's start with double jumping and its high cost to your boost meter. For example, it can be directly countered by the winger. You don't need to double jump if your first jump is just as high anyway, and in situations where you absolutely have to double jump or you will die, you can get quite a bit more height and larger safety area than you would otherwise. Basically, switching playstyles on a dime from being a grounded speedster to a high-flying attack class. Just be aware that any fall damage will remove over half of your boost, though I guess if it comes down to it, there is the decision: lose 55% of boost and a bit of health, or 75% of boost and keep your health. Honestly, I think that for escaping, it's just better to take the fall damage and run faster than try to save your health. Health is not the only key to survival, especially with a babyface scout. Now, another important mindset is even though double jump is detrimental to your boost, if you are taking damage or know you are about to take a lot of damage, you can never be afraid to double jump. Even if you don't have time to pull out the winger, if you see a rocket, a pill, or a flare coming at you and you need to double jump to avoid it, you go right ahead and do that. If they hit, they will take more boost than it costs to double jump anyway. You have to combine the two playstyles here, which can sound overwhelming, but think of it like this. You can evade damage in two ways: incredible speed or incredible jumps, but not at the same time, and one will always sacrifice the other. It is not a loss to double jump and lose boost, and it is not a loss to gain boost and worry about not being able to jump. You are just trading one tactic for the other temporarily. In fact, you'll probably notice that in this gameplay, that the second I am shot with anything that takes half of my boost or more, I immediately switch tactics and start double jumping around. And then once I get a good meat shot, it's back to being a speedster. The boost on the babyface builds so fast anyway, just one meat shot and you're back to full. Also, don't be afraid to double jump if you know you can flank somebody and instantly get your boost that you just lost back. Just be sure of your ability to flank and hit the target first. Oblivious snipers are a perfect target for this. Actually, for multiple reasons, this loadout is perfect for picking off snipers for your teammates. Now everything I just mentioned takes some practice, but it does work very well. Now for the issue of damage taking boosts away from you. If you take on more than one person at a time, you are going to lose your boost, as you can never hope to out DPS them. Unless of course you are constantly gaining boosts from another source, something aside from the scattergun. The Boston Basher. Use this with kind of a fan of war tactic. Mark your enemies with bleed before attacking them. The bleed does stack on multiple targets for the boost, so hit as many people as you can before attacking. Of course, you must judge if it's better just to shoot them and pick them off quickly or use the bleed and that tactic that I just mentioned. I like to think of it this way. Any 2 targets that have the health of a medic or less, go ahead and just shoot them. But if there's 1 target or more that has more health, then it's probably a good idea to inflict bleed damage on them first. That way your bleed is constantly bringing you to the normal speed of a scout, or if not, slightly higher than the normal speed of a scout. So if you need to retreat before the bleed runs out, you're not penalized by 10% slower movement speed. And I have to mention this right now because I know someone's going to mention this in the comments section. Yes, you could theoretically use the Rap Assassin for this, but waiting for the ball to recharge and the near impossibility of hitting 2 targets at once doesn't really make this very viable for this whole idea. You can use it if you want, but you're going to be severely limited and much less effective at regaining your boost. With the high speed of the babyface, it's really not that big of an issue to sneak up behind somebody and hit them with a melee a couple times than it is to try and strike them with a ball from long distance, and hope that the explosion radius actually damages multiple people. That tiny, puny, insignificant explosion radius. Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm not the biggest fan of the Rap Assassin. It's like on my list of most useless weapons of all time in Team Fortress 2, right next to the sharpened volcano fragment. Though honest to God, I found a strange one, and I managed to beat a soldier to death with it without using the ornament. A soldier who had full health. It took me like 3.5 minutes to do so, and he never once thought to try and go back for a health pack. True story, and that honestly right there is why I kind of like some of the terrible weapons, because when you do get a kill with them, oh, it's glorious. But yeah, for this, don't use it. Just use the Boston Basher. It's just objectively better for what we're trying to do. Now, of course, I'm not going to forget the Boston Basher's other stat, aside from just inflicting bleed damage. This whole idea will not work at all if you hit yourself, idiot, and inflict bleed damage and lose all of your boost anyway. So you better be damn confident with the Basher before attempting this loadout. And this is why I'm giving the Rap Assassin a temporary pass on this, because if you need to practice with the Basher, the Rap Assassin would be a good second to this loadout. It's just going to be much more limited. Now, for becoming competent with the Basher itself, the best advice I can give is never swing unless you are absolutely sure you are going to hit them. I know it can swing insanely fast, but never do that. A lag spike, a hitbox misregistration, or a random crit, killing the enemy before you expected, causing you to in turn hit yourself with its fast swing speed, will all screw you up. Take your time with the swings. I hardly ever swing faster than a demo night with the Basher, and maybe that's why I have always been able to use it effectively. But yeah, in the end, the bleed of the Basher and the boost of the babyface were like matches made in heaven. And yeah, I know the pocket pistol and the babyface were technically meant for each other, but at this point they're more like Jerry Smith and Beth Sanchez. You know they should be together, but the longer they are, they just end up hurting each other more. Hashtag Team Boston Babyface, that was a dark joke. But there you have it. Possibly the only effective way to use the babyface in this day and age. I still think the babyface needs a buff, or hell, I would even be fine if they turned it back to the original version. 6 shots and you can't jump at all. I honestly feel like that babyface is better than this crap that we have today. So, maybe just undo the updates to the babyface altogether. But for now, you all have at least one way to use this weapon again. I absolutely love the extra movement speed of the babyface. It is such a unique weapon, and I hate to see them just tossed in the trash bin, but that is just the sad reality of all non-stock scout weapons these days. The babyface is just the most pathetic of the bunch, and I thought it would make an interesting and challenging topic to cover of how to possibly make this garbage weapon good again. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and let me know in the comments how you would balance the babyface. Maybe they could just, lower the movement speed by a bit. Or get off of their lazy asses and fix the hitboxes in Team Fortress 2! And that's not just Scout talking, that's every class, every weapon, projectiles, hit scan, you name it. Melee, every melee. And you know what? I would like to see it rebalanced and have its 6 shots back. Why is it such a sin for any scattergun other than stock to have 6 shots? Oh well, that's all for now. I'm done rambling about this. I hope you all have a good day, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Also, here's a few more donations. I really should be getting a chart so I can keep track of these, but here's more of them. I don't know what they are. You love these people anyway. Bye!